Hey, what's going on, everyone? Corey Anderson here. It's raining this morning. So we're using the car today. Usually have my bike, but I don't want to really ride in the rain, especially where I work. I work out in Moreno Valley, and I use the freeway. That's not really something that we want to be doing right now. And in the meantime, before work, we just decided to go over a chapter with you on Wallace Wattles' trilogy and the science of getting rich. And right now we are actually on YouTube looking up podcasts and how podcasts work, and we realize how much we really need to have in order to make our biggest goal a reality, I guess you could say. But until then, I'm still doing these videos. You have to start somewhere, and you have to start now. You have to do it now with what you have. And here I am, doing it now, preparing, because I still have a lot to learn when it comes to being on camera. I still have a lot to learn when it comes to being in front of other people and talking to other people about these specific things in general. And I still have a lot of growing to do myself as an individual before I could be that, that so awesome Corey, or that so awesome person we always envision ourselves to be in our imagination, and it's we got a lot of work to do. And I'm also on a chapter, or part number 8. We're in our second month of obtaining our master key. We're starting our second month, and then part 8 was talking about Charles F. Hannell. He was talking about the use of imagination and the function of it. And imagination is, it's your tool used for creating, and visualization and idealization are two functions that stem from imagination itself. Because when you're visualizing, you're imagining it. You're seeing it in your mind's eye. You're using the power of your imagination to mentally build something in front of you that isn't a tangible fact yet. In order to make it a tangible fact, you have to take action. Because there's a spiritual world, which is the inner world, and there is the material world, which is the external world. Our physical being is part of the material world, and as spirit, we are in control of this creature known as man, and it's amazing. And it's in this book, like I said, we're going to go over chapter 2 of this series, The Science of Getting Rich, because in today's society, we all need money. They say money is evil, but money is not evil. Money is neutral. Everything is neutral. It's the love of money that produces, greed and all those actions, that people would perceive to be on the immoral side of things. Because we're here to grow in every direction possible, physically, mentally, and spiritually. That being said, today I'm going to try it a little bit differently. I'm going to try recording the book as well, so you guys will be able to follow along, or at least make it a little bit different. Let's try it this way. Yeah, there's not enough room, and this makes it pretty hard. But anywho, we do what we can with what we have. So chapter 2. There is a science of getting rich. There is a science of getting rich, and it is an exact science, like algebra or arithmetic. There are certain laws which govern the process of acquiring riches. Once these laws are learned and obeyed by any man, he will get rich with mathematical certainty. The ownership of money and property comes as a result of doing things in a certain way. Those who do things in a certain way, whether on purpose or accidentally, get rich, while those who do not do things on this certain way, no matter how hard they work or how able they are, remain poor. It is a natural law that like causes always produce like effects, and therefore any man or woman who learns to do things in this certain way will infallibly get rich. That the above statement is true is shown by the following facts. Getting rich is not a matter of environment, for if it were, all the people in certain neighborhoods would become wealthy. The people of one city would be rich, while those of other towns will all be poor, or the inhabitants of one state would roll in wealth, while those of an adjoining state would be in poverty. But everywhere we see rich and poor living side by side, in the same environment and often engaged in the same vocations. When two men are in the same locality and in the same business, one gets rich while the other remains poor, it shows that getting rich is not primarily a matter of environment. Some environments may be far more favorable than others, but when two men in the same business are in the same neighborhood, and one gets rich while the other fails, it indicates that getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way. And further, the ability to do things in this certain way is not due solely to the possession of talent, for many people who have great talent remain poor, while other people who have very little talent get rich. Studying the people who have got rich, we find that they are an average lot in all respects, having no greater talents and abilities than other men. It is evident that they do not get rich because they possess talents and abilities that other men have not, but because they happen to do things in a certain way. Getting rich is not the result of saving or thrift. Many very penurious people are poor, while free spenders often get rich. Nor is getting rich due to doing things which others fail to do, for two men in the same business often do almost exactly the same things, and one gets rich while the other remains poor and becomes bankrupt. From all these things, we must come to the conclusion that getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way. If getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way, and if like causes always produce like effects, then any man or woman who can do things in that way can become rich, and the whole matter is brought within the domain of exact science. The question arises here whether this certain way may not be so difficult that only a few may follow it. This cannot be true. As we have seen, so far as natural ability is concerned, talented people get rich, and blockheads get rich. Intellectually brilliant people get rich, and very stupid people get rich. Physically strong people get rich, and weak and sickly people get rich. Some degree of ability to think and understand is, of course, essential, but in so far natural ability is concerned, any man or woman who has sense enough to read and understand these words can certainly get rich. Also, we have seen that it is not a matter of environment. Location counts for something. One would not go to the heart of the Sahara and expect to do successful business. Getting rich involves the necessity of dealing with men, and of being where there are people to deal with. And if these people are inclined to deal in the way you want to deal, so much the better, but that is about as far as environment goes. If anybody else in your town can get rich, so can you, and if anybody else in your state can get rich, so can you. Again, it is not a matter of choosing some particular business or profession. People get rich in every business and in every profession, while their next-door neighbors in the same vocation remain in poverty. It is true that you will do best in a business which you like, and which is congenial to you, and if you have certain talents which are well developed, you will do best in a business which calls for the exercise of those talents. Also, you will do best in a business which is suited for your locality. An ice cream parlor would do better in a warm climate than in Greenland, and a salmon fishery would succeed better in the northwest than in Florida, where there are no salmon. But aside from these general limitations, getting rich is not dependent upon your engaging in some particular business, but upon your learning to do things in a certain way. If you are now in business and anybody in your locality is getting rich in the same business, while you are not getting rich, it is because you are not doing things in the same way that the other person is doing them. No one is prevented from being rich by lack of capital. True, as you get capital, an increase becomes more easy and rapid, but one who has capital is already rich, and does not need to consider how to become so. No matter how poor you may be, if you begin to do things in a certain way, you will begin to get rich, and you will begin to have capital. The getting of capital is a part of the process of getting rich, and this is a part of the result which invariably follows the doing of things in a certain way. You may be the poorest man in the continent, and be deeply in debt. You may have neither friends, influence, nor resources, but if you begin to do things in a certain way, you will infallibly begin to get rich, for like causes must produce like effects. If you have no capital, you can get capital. If you are in the wrong business, you can get into the right business. If you are in the wrong location, you can get into the right location. And you can do so by beginning in your present business and in your present location to do things in the certain way which causes success. And that is the end of chapter 2. Basically, in a summary, it talks about doing things in a certain way, that two people can get rich in the same locality, but one person, or even in the same business, in the same place, let's say two neighbors, for example, are in the same business. One is getting rich and the other one isn't. It's because the one that is getting rich is doing things in a certain way. It's funny that he says that, because I just listened to a video this morning from Earl Nightingale, and he's talking about the secret of success. He says a man becomes what he thinks about most of the time. A man is what he thinks. There's also a quote by James Allen. He even says it, that the sum total of a man's character is the sum total of all his thoughts. These are very interesting things. And Charles F. Hannell, the Master Key System, we learned that as spirit, thought is the only activity which the spirit possesses. And these thoughts are expressed through this conscious part of the man. The brain and cerebral spinal system, those are the organs of your conscious mind. Because the mind is what's in control of the body, and spirit is what makes and manifests the mind. And it's very interesting, these things that we've been learning, and that we are learning every day. And it's even more interesting seeing now how much work we really need to do and how much needs to be done. But we know that as long as we stay in the process, it has no choice but to happen, because we've already written down our goals. And Earl Nightingale, if you haven't seen me in the series of The Instant Millionaire, I have the book on my channel, and we have our goals written down, and we accomplished our goals in 2015. So we've already written our goals for 2016. We're excited to see where we're gonna go this year, and it's a journey. That's for sure. Like they all say, all those successful people say, fall in love with the process, the journey of it, because it's not gonna happen overnight. It may not happen by the end of this year. It may not even happen next year. It could happen 5-10 years from now, but it'll happen sooner or later. Don't know when it will, but we know that when it does, it'll happen at the perfect time, and it'll happen when we are fully ready for it. With that being said, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end it right here. I gotta start going to work. Luckily, I didn't have any clients today. As a trainer, we set our schedule, and we get to inspire people, to motivate people, to help them set their goals for their fitness journey. Because that's what our 2015 was about, our fitness journey and our intellectual journey as well. But I'd say maybe 2016 is more of our intellectual journey, because now we're actually starting to read these books out loud and recording ourselves reading them. And, you know, there's our body is like a teaching and learning device, you know, and you learn more and are able to teach more when you talk about it, other than just listening to it and thinking about it all the time. You know, you have to take actions to make it become a personality type thing. Because as spirit, we are all awareness. We have the power to create whoever we want to be, and also to create the environment which we want. But it takes action. And, with that being said, I'll see you on the other side of the galaxy. Take